Welcome to Management Development Unlocked, where you will learn how to nurture a world-class management team. And now your host, Eric Girard.
Hi, I'm Eric Girard, CEO of Girard Training Solutions. In this episode, I read chapters 3 and 4 from Lead Like a Pro, the essential guide for new managers. Here, I talk about goal setting. Once you've successfully made the transition to your new role, you need to work with your team to set goals so everyone's clear on who does what, how much, and by when. I mentioned the SMART goal setting method, but really, any structured method that ensures everyone's clear on who does what, how much, and by when is fine with me. Just be consistent. I also talk about how one-on-ones aren't just another meeting. They're sacred time for your employees, and you should take them seriously. In addition, I cover delegation. As a manager, you must learn to let go of things and enable your team to take on more responsibility. Otherwise, you become the bottleneck and a source of frustration for your team and leadership. There may be some grieving as you wrestle with the fact that you have to let go of things you really like or are really good at. I get it. And you might feel you can do things better and faster than your less skilled and experienced team. I understand that too. Delegate anyway. Here's how. Chapter 3, Goal Setting. All good performance starts with clear goals. If you don't know what you want to accomplish, there is very little chance you will get there. The Ken Blanchard Companies. Okay, you've built your empathy muscles and are now a more empathetic and caring human being. You've also thought carefully about making a smooth and successful transition from your old job to your new one. Now it's time to work with your team to set goals. What's in it for you? Why is goal setting so important? Without goals, a team is rudderless and everyone does what they think is right. Each person's actions may diverge wildly from the mission of the team, the company, and your vision for making the team successful. This kind of result is incredibly frustrating and, at the end of the day, completely preventable with a commitment to goal setting. Working through the tools in this chapter will give you practice and help you build your skills in this critical ability. Eric's story. I joined a fast-growing, pre-initial public offering unicorn startup, which means it was worth $1 billion or more at the time it went public. Everything about the place was chaos. People were building their own IKEA desks so they would have a place to sit and work. There was noise and construction everywhere as facilities scrambled to make room for the influx of new people. My manager was an extremely domineering person who had no problem using pressure and shame to get us to perform at a high level. We all worked very hard, but she got increasingly frustrated because we weren't doing the things she wanted and therefore not getting the outcomes she needed. She finally vented to an HR manager who responded by setting up a meeting with our whole team. I came in and sat down expecting a tongue lashing, but to my surprise instead, the HR manager asked several questions and then led us through a goal-setting exercise. By the end of that meeting, we were all clear on who was supposed to be doing what, including our manager. While that didn't fix all the problems on our team, our manager was eventually managed out by her superiors. We now understood which were our individual responsibilities and what we were responsible for as a team. It helped immensely, and it had only taken a couple of hours in a single afternoon. How about you? Do you work hard to get things done but seem to achieve very little? The way new managers set goals is often fraught with common mistakes that lead to unaccomplished goals, frustration, and burnout. Instead of listing the common mistakes in a list of don'ts, I'm going to focus our time on what will help you become a successful manager. First, you need to understand the real purpose behind a goal. A goal is a simple statement of the intent, the what, and is not an action plan for accomplishing the goal, the how. Good goals always specify who, does what, how much, by when. If your goals don't have these 4 components, chances are they are too broad, unmeasurable, unachievable, irrelevant, not timely, or all of the above. See where I'm going? Setting SMART goals is a simple process that helps clarify your ideas, focus your efforts, keep track of your responsibilities, and become a better manager. Let me explain how. SMART goals. The SMART in SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, achievable or aligned, relevant or resourced, and time-bound or trackable. SMART goals are used to increase motivation, clarify objectives, and promote better decision-making by breaking down complex goals into smaller, more manageable steps. By setting SMART goals, individuals and organizations can create a clear roadmap to success, improve productivity, and achieve better outcomes. Here's how to set SMART goals in 3 steps. 1. Determine what you want to achieve with your goal. It could be a skill or knowledge you want your team or yourself to develop, or a result you want to achieve, but you need to be very specific. 2. Determine how you will achieve that goal. To do that, you need to set a metric you can measure. This is a percentage or a number you want to reach. For example, you want team member participation in meetings to be 90%. Always ensure your goal is aligned with company goals. You don't want to run off in a different direction than the company's leadership. 3. Set a deadline, ensure everybody works actively on these goals, and don't push them aside. You can set monthly, quarterly, or yearly goals. So, what does a SMART goal look like? Remember, a good goal specifies who, does what, how much, by when. And a good goal is SMART. Specific. Can you explain the results you expect in terms of what you can observe or hear the person doing? Measurable. Do you know how to measure success for this particular task? Achievable. Can the goal be completed within the specified time frame? Relevant. Is the goal aligned with other department or company goals? Time-bound. How will you monitor progress on this goal? Here's a poor goal. Clean up the department's electronic files. As stated, this goal is missing most of the elements of SMART. It's not specific, measurable, or time-bound. And here's a proper SMART goal. By September 30th, Bill will update and organize the departmental Google Drive. All documents will then be on one shared drive so team members will be able to more easily find the files they need. Can you pick out all the elements of SMART? They're all there. Brainstorming guidelines when setting team goals. Goals can certainly be set individually. Ideally, each person sets their own rather than having the manager set goals for them. This works best when the organization's mission and vision are clearly understood by everyone first. Then each person reviews and revises their goals with the manager, who shares them with the rest of the team for transparency. The key here is to have conversations with the manager and the rest of the team so goals aren't set in a vacuum. One of my favorite things is to run a large group goal-setting session in person. To do this, bring everyone together in a room with a large blank wall. Provide super sticky Post-it notes and Sharpies or something equivalent. From there, 1. Explain that you're going to set goals as a group. You'll be brainstorming team goals that will eventually become goals for each individual. Each person will write one goal or idea per Post-it and put it on the wall for others to see and so be inspired. Lay out the instructions for this first round of brainstorming. Encourage input from all team members. Avoid criticizing ideas. Avoid getting into long discussions or explanations of ideas. Be sure all ideas are understood before adding detail. Encourage wild ideas and out-of-the-box thinking. 2. Play some thinking music. I like Mozart Makes You Smarter as folks consider their goals. Encourage everyone to get several ideas on the wall so others can see them. 3. When the flow of ideas starts to slow, encourage everyone to come up with 2 or 3 more. 4. When it seems the team is tapped out, ask everyone to gather round the wall and absorb what's written on the Post-its. This is when people can ask clarifying questions and provide explanations. 5. After all questions are asked and answered, explain that now you need to bucket the ideas into groups of similar themes. Stand aside and let the team do this. Usually this happens quickly, and duplicate ideas are easily spotted and consolidated. 6. Once this activity slows down, have folks take a minute, absorb what's on the Post-its, and label the buckets if they haven't already. 7. Finally, put up flip chart paper around the room, one sheet for each team member. Write their name at the top of it, and have the team take the Post-its that mesh with their job. If one Post-it applies to more than one person's job, just duplicate the Post-it. As the manager, you have the prerogative to move Post-its from one person's flip chart to another. Just explain why you're doing this and allow for discussion and debate. 8. After this activity is done, have the team do a gallery walk where they review each team member's flip chart and ask any clarifying questions. Again, allow for discussion and debate. You can do this activity electronically as well. I've had good luck with Google Jamboards, but you probably have your favorite app for things like this. One-on-ones, making sure goals are being achieved. Weekly one-on-one meetings with individual team members increase the likelihood of successful goal achievement by helping maintain focus and alignment with overall business objectives. These 30-minute conversations provided dedicated time and space for managers and team members to discuss what progress is being made towards their goals, identify any obstacles or challenges, and make any necessary adjustments to the plan, such as ensuring they have the necessary support and resources to achieve them. Managers then have the opportunity to provide feedback as they encourage the continual progress toward the established goal without taking too much time on the calendar. Eric's story. In my first role in Silicon Valley, my boss, Brent, was remote. My office was in headquarters, and he was in a smaller office near his home several hours' drive away. We had weekly, formal one-on-ones with an agenda and action items. My nickname was Action Item Man. That helped keep me on track and kept him informed about what I was up to. This was important because I sat right outside his boss's office, and she brooked no nonsense. Besides these one-on-ones, he would also call several times a week just to see how things were going and to chat. It helped build a bond between us even though we might only see each other in person every month or so. I came to look forward to our informal chats, and because we talked so often on the phone, when we did meet in person, it meant we could get right down to business. Another take on SMART. SMART goals and their cousin, OKRs, Objectives and Key Results, have been around for a long time and have helped some truly huge and consequential companies achieve amazing results. The Ken Blanchard companies have a slightly different take on SMART goals. To explore that, I interviewed Betty Danowitz, their solutions architect. According to Danowitz, Blanchard uses SMART goals, but they don't necessarily implement them in the traditional order. In the Blanchard universe, SMART is STRAM instead. S stands for specific or simple, T is trackable or time-bound, R is relevant, A is attainable, and M is motivating. Danowitz prefers this approach because making your goal specific, and then in your next step you talk about how to track it, then you've covered the bulk of the goal in the first two steps, specific and trackable. Then the following three steps of making it relevant, attainable, and motivating can be checkpoints to be sure the goal is headed in the right direction, can be achieved by the team member, and that the team member wants to do it. The key point is that whether you use the traditional SMART model or STRAM, you should be sure to do it with your team. Summary. Whether you use the standard SMART goals method, Blanchard's STRAM method, or John Doerr's OKRs method, be sure you involve the whole team and create a culture where people can ask for help from you and from each other. Set goals anytime you have a new person join the team, and review goals at least quarterly to be sure they're still relevant and that your team is on track. One-on-ones are a great way to keep tabs on things between more formal check-ins. Activity. Go back to your current goals and check how specific they are. If they're broad and vague, use the 3 steps previously mentioned to make them SMART. Chapter 4. Delivering through others, the art of delegation. No person will make a great business who wants to do it all themselves or to get all the credit of doing it. Andrew Carnegie. Delegation is one of the strongest signs of a good manager, Yet it's particularly challenging for new managers. This is in part because companies rarely train anyone to develop the skill. It's a skill that goes beyond trust, and it's not done well in many organizations. Now that you have new skills in your toolbox, it's time to start delegating some of your work to your team. As a first-line manager, you have a responsibility to your team, and you also have your own work to do. Unless you plan on not sleeping and not taking vacations, which I do not recommend, take care of yourself. You will need to offload some of your tasks to your team. Remember, your job is now to get results through others, not be a hero or martyr. What's in it for you? Delegation helps to distribute your workload and avoid burnout, while simultaneously improving the productivity and efficiency of the entire team. By delegating tasks to team members, you allow them to develop new skills and gain more experience. This empowers them to take responsibility for their work and increase their sense of engagement and job satisfaction. Delegation also helps build trust between the manager and team members, as it demonstrates that the manager trusts the team to complete tasks successfully. Most managers simply assign tasks to team members and think that's where delegation ends. But real delegation comes from giving your team autonomy to successfully complete a job on time. When done effectively, delegation achieves business growth, increases revenue, and creates job opportunities. So why do managers fail to delegate? Some reasons include they don't know their team, so they don't trust their commitment or ability to complete the job well in a timely manner. They want to have control of everything. Guilty. They want to protect their team from overwork. They fear delegating will be perceived as failing to work hard. They don't have a development plan for their team. They simply don't know how to delegate because they've never received any training. Think of delegation as an investment. At first, especially with a team member who has, shall we say, lots of room to grow, you will undoubtedly spend more time teaching them to do a task and managing them through it than if you'd just done it yourself. In the long run, however, as that team member's capabilities improve and they're able to act with more and more autonomy, the time you save by delegating will far outpace the time spent getting them ready. They'll grow, you'll be more efficient, and your whole team will be more effective. The 10 Commandments for Effective Delegation. I've scoured a lot of great advice on delegation in researching this book, and just when I thought I had it all boiled down to its essential elements, I had the good fortune to work with Darren Nerland, Senior Leadership and Learning Development Manager for Amazon. He lived up to his reputation as a disruptor and helped me look at the art of delegation through a slightly different lens. The following list, which covers what to keep in mind before, during, and after delegating a task, comes largely from his input. Before delegating. 1. Determine what tasks can be delegated. Ask yourself, does this task require my direct involvement or personal expertise, or could someone else do this? As you write your list, you'll need to accept the fact that sometimes you will have to delegate tasks you really like in order to make room for managerial responsibilities. It can be hard, but when you keep the big picture in mind, you'll see how you're helping your team grow and become more productive. 2. Set clear goals and define the desired outcome. If you don't have a clear goal in mind for the task, there's no way your team member can complete it successfully. Before you delegate a task, define your goals, deadlines, targets, and standards for that task, and what you want to see as a result when it is complete. SMART goals, discussed in the last chapter, will help you clarify those desired results. From there, you need to communicate the goals to your team member in a clear and concise way. Hint: an over-reliance on corporatese is not clear and concise. Sentences like, "We must ensure cross-functional alignment through high-level interaction," are the verbal equivalent of junk food. 3. Choose the right person for the job. For each task, consider who is best equipped and has the bandwidth to complete the job to your expectations. As a new manager, that may be a challenge, even if you've spent some time getting to know your team members prior to your transition. Rest assured that you will come to know your team members' unique skills, capabilities, strengths, and weaknesses. There's more on this coming up, and in the next chapter, I'll discuss a SWOT analysis, which can be immensely helpful. 4. Provide resources. In thinking about the task, give thought to the resources needed to complete it successfully and ensure your team member not only has access to those resources, but is aware they have that access. This could include access to information, tools, and training. When delegating, your chosen team member is now in front of you, notebook and pen in hand, awaiting your instructions. These next steps are where the magic happens. 5. Define the scope of the task. Clarify the scope of the task by explaining what needs to be done, how it should be done, what resources are available, and when it needs to be done. 6. Provide context. Make sure your team member understands the importance of the task and how it fits into the bigger picture. 7. Communicate expectations. Clearly communicate your expectations for the outcome of the task, including quality, quantity, and timing. Convey that it's their responsibility to keep you informed of their progress, rather than your responsibility to check in with them. 8. Confirm understanding. Before this meeting concludes, make sure the team member understands the task as well as you do. Invite them to ask questions and have them repeat back to you what they heard. This will provide the opportunity for you to fill any gaps or correct any misunderstandings. It is much better to invest a few minutes in this exercise than to let a team member spend a lot of time and effort producing a result that isn't what you want. After delegating. 9. Provide supervision and monitor progress. The challenge here is to resist the urge to micromanage the person. You've chosen this person carefully, so give them the right amount of autonomy and trust to complete the task, and as I said earlier, tell them up front that you expect them to keep you informed of their progress. A good approach to this would be to set up a timeline or checkpoints along the way to ensure that the task is progressing as planned and provide feedback as necessary. 10. Follow up when the task is complete. Based on how you've defined the desired outcome, follow up with your team member to ensure that it's been achieved. Evaluate the team member's performance and identify lessons learned. What did they do well? Where can they improve? How can you, as the manager, do a better job of helping them succeed? Opening the door to this kind of two-way feedback builds trust and helps both of you do your jobs better. How to delegate the right tasks to the right people. I want to circle back to the concept of choosing the right person for the job because, after all, the decision you make here directly impacts whether a task is completed successfully. Yes, it's up to the employee to do the work, but if you tap someone who isn't ready or just isn't right for the task, then that mistake, and everything that grows from it afterward, is on you. To help, Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard created the skill-will matrix in the late 1960s to help managers flex their own preferred management style to get the best out of their team members. The thesis of the model is we are all at varying degrees of skill, capability, and willingness, enthusiasm, self-drive, for any given task. A team member can exhibit high or low skill related to the task and high or low will toward accomplishing it. Based on your observations as a manager and conversations with the team member, you can determine their skill-will level and then determine how you'll delegate and guide them. Low skill, low will. Here we have a team member who exhibits low skill and low will related to a particular task. It's important to distinguish whether the team member is always in a low skill, low will position or any other position, or just with this task. Low skill, high will. Here we have someone who is at low skill and high will for the task. They are new to the task but ready to jump in. They may not know what they don't know, but they're enthusiastic and willing to learn. High skill, high will. Here we have someone who is both highly skilled at the task and demonstrates high willingness to do it. They're ready to run with the task, get out of their way, and let them go. High skill, low will. Here we see a team member who's highly skilled but has lost their willingness to do the task. Perhaps they've suffered a setback, either personal or professional, and are off their game. Now that you've run some diagnostics, how do you manage someone in each of these categories? Low skill, low will. With the low-skilled, low-willed team member, it's fair to reevaluate whether this is the right person for the task, and if the answer is still yes, be prepared to work alongside them and really work on motivation. Give clear directions and instructions and be supportive, but remember, in the end, you make the decisions as the manager. Low-skill, high-will. With the low-skilled, high-willed team member, provide training and coaching. Highlight what they're doing well. Focus on developing their skill while you maintain their enthusiasm. High skill, high will. For the high-skilled, high-willed team member, collaborate with them and give them more leeway. Discuss their plans to accomplish the task and let them make the final decisions on direction. High skill, low will. Finally, for the high-skilled but low-willed team member, find out what happened. Show them you care and try to get to the bottom of the issue that is affecting their motivation. Let them make final decisions on which way to go. A word about initiative. As you train your team members to take more initiative, so you can offload some of your old individual contributor tasks, manage the team, and focus on being more strategic, consider these 6 levels of initiative from the classic Harvard Business Review, HBR, article, Who's Got the Monkey? Level 0 is when the team member waits until they're told what to do. In a high-performing team, we don't want anyone waiting to be told what to do, so encourage your team to rise above this level. Level 1 is when the team member asks what to do. This is better than level 0, but still too junior for a high-performing team member. Level 2 is when the team member makes a recommendation to you, discusses it, and takes what you both agree is the right action. That's better. Encourage your team members to come to you with ideas, not just problems. Level 3 is when the team member acts on their own but alerts you right away. This is a sign of a confident, maturing team member. Just be sure to give guidelines about when this is okay. Level 4 is when the team member acts on their own, then routinely informs you, for example, in a one-on-one. For many tasks, this is perfectly acceptable and expected. Again, set guidelines for when the team member has this much rope. Level 5 is when the team member acts on their own and doesn't inform you at all. This is the highest level of initiative and requires a great deal of trust. Share these levels with your team members during a team meeting and encourage them to do some higher-level thinking when faced with a problem. Work to build trust so you can count on them to flawlessly execute at higher levels. Eric's story. I spent a lot of my time as an individual contributor focused on my own tasks and performance. As I said before, when I started my own company, I thought I could handle everything myself. Boy, was that a mistake. Once I realized what I'd done, my first hire was an old friend and colleague, Sandra, who I brought in to take care of my website. She knocked that out of the park, so I asked her to take on redesigning my slide decks. Again, out of the park. I realized I had a ringer, someone who could do almost anything I threw at her. When I wrote my first book, I asked her to take care of arranging it for publication on Amazon. This was a stretch goal for her and took her a little longer than someone with lots of experience, but she did an awesome job. When I came up with the idea for this book, it was a given I was going to give her a big role in getting it published. The moral of this little story is to hire people you trust, who you know are capable of getting what you need done, and let them run with projects you'd normally have done yourself. Stretch your team as well, letting them work their way through things that perhaps they haven't done before, and let them know you believe in them and you have their back. When you, as the manager, take the time to get to know your team and understand their learning styles and motivations, you can adjust your management style to bring out the best in everyone. You're not only creating a great culture and workplace, but this will also benefit your career, team, and organization. Summary. To succeed as a manager, you've got to delegate tasks, sometimes even those you really enjoy. I know you love those TPS reports, but you have to let them go. I'm sorry. If you don't know what a TPS report is, please watch the cult classic movie Office Space after you finish this book. Hilarious, but not 100% safe for work or kids. Work closely to build trust with your team and learn to diagnose their skill and will levels for each task. Resist the temptation to categorize someone broadly, however. We use the skill-will matrix to diagnose someone's competence on a task, not to put them in a box. Encourage your team to come to you with ideas and possible solutions to problems, not just a problem. This will take some time, and you will need to be patient. Activity. Make a list of all your tasks and responsibilities. Are you using your time efficiently? What tasks are you holding on to currently that could be delegated to others? Thanks for listening to me pontificate about goal setting and delegation in this episode. No matter which method you use, just remember to ensure you've covered who, does what, how much, and by when. Use specific dates and be sure that they're specific and measurable. By now, you should have a solid grasp on the fundamentals of delegation, and you've discovered my fondness for vintage HBR articles. Start small, build trust with your team, and let go of the things you didn't think you could. Let your team surprise you. If you'd like to talk with me about how I can help you or your new managers smoothly make the transition to management, please email me at eric@gerardtrainingsolutions.com or message me on LinkedIn. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Management Development Unlocked. Want more? Get a ton of insider tips and tools at gerardtrainingsolutions.com.